Oh, come on. What the? That's not working. I'm gonna need a spatula. All right, so this is the piece of wood I am dealing with. As you can see, there's a giant ass branch coming out of there, which is gonna be a nasty knot. But if I flip it over, it looks pretty clean. So I'm gonna attempt to split it, get rid of the bottom half here, which has the knot. It's a little long right now, so let's cut it down to size and then try and split this thing in half without messing it up. One thing I did see on the internet from someone that does a lot of spoon carving is, and this is a bad habit of mine, you should not leave your axe like this because you can knock it off and it can fall. So you should always try and get it in your block and just leave it there where it's nice and sturdy. So you can see I still got a bit of the center or the heartwood. You don't want your carving to have that in it. So I'm gonna try and split a little bit more. So we got that split. Now I gotta start thinking whereabouts on this piece of wood I want my spatula. For the design, I'm actually just gonna copy someone else. So this is Instagram. This is Timmer Towney. He created this awesome looking spatula. So figured I'd try and copy that. So in order to do this, I'm gonna have to trim this down a little bit more. I'll work this away a little bit with the axe, and once I get that to a point I like, I'll start tracing on the outline. So I got my design kind of traced on there, just very rough. I'm just playing around. But what I have noticed is we have a lot of discoloration. It's called wood spalting. It's caused by fungus. So this is a problem in a few ways. One, it does compromise the structural stability. And because the spatula is going to be very thin, it might not hold up. And the other concern is, because this is or was a fungus, I don't know if this is going to be food safe. So if I determine it's not food safe, then I guess I'm just going to be using this as a template, throw it in my spoon box. That's okay. You know, most of these things I don't even use anyways. I just enjoy the process of carving them. But with that said, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to take off some of this material just so it's a little bit more manageable. Once that's kind of thinned out a little bit, then I'll get my crank in there, which is the angle between, in this case, the spatula face and the handle. Makes it a lot more ergonomic, especially if you're using it to flip things. I'll do a couple relief cuts on the edge and then on the edge, and then axe it out. So I got the outline more or less in, but it's still very thick. So I'm gonna get that plane in this thickness a little bit more in line. So now I want to do a relief cut to get the crank angle in there. So we'll do that. Then back to the draw knife. Let's get this shape a little more dialed in. Sorry, I had to find my pencil. So I know that the edge here is going, what the heck? It's going to be angled, so I can saw that off. I gotta choose my length. Maybe I'll just leave this end for now so I have some room to play. But yeah, let's get that sawn off and then get this plane in order. I want it to be, especially like the spatula, actual spatula part, that needs to be flat or else it's gonna rock and just be dumb and useless. So let's get that going. And you know, when you're doing things like this, it's always good to think ahead. Like when I'm done cutting this, is this gonna go and cut into my phone here? Yeah, probably. So let's get that out of the way. Oh, ho, ho, ho. It's looking like a spatula now. We have a few small imperfections. The handle back here, I was hoping to keep it longer, but there's just, yeah, I went a little too crazy, I think, maybe with the axe or something. So I gotta get rid of that stuff before I start taking material off the back. So the beautiful thing about this spatula is there's really no symmetry. So I can really just kind of go at it and play around with the lines and not really worry about it because, you know, you don't have to match the other side. You can kind of just freeform and whatever works. And if there's material giving you a hard time, you get rid of it and reshape it. All right. So got a bit of a high spot in the middle there. Good enough. Just gonna do a little bit more shaping. We have some live edges down here that we gotta get rid of. So time for the carving knife. Now I wanna get this crank smoothed out. It's always tough where two angles meet. You just gotta take your time, take a little bit of material off a time, at a time, I should say. Just getting all those knife marks out. So you come down one way, got a lip, and then you gotta take that lip off the other way. Just being patient. Sometimes you just gotta go back and forth. Okay, the shape is more or less there. Now I gotta start rounding off handles, tapering off this spatula. We'll call it a blade, I guess. That's probably the proper term, spatula blade. And I think I'll probably do majority of it with the draw knife. It's just a lot easier than, you know, cutting little bits with the carving knife at a time. So something I have to be really careful of with this spalted birch is it's super, super soft. So I don't want to be putting pinch marks in here with the wood. So I just want to just get it just snug enough that it's not going to slip out. So just because of the angle and the hook or the draw knife hitting my base here, I think I'm gonna go to the knife and thin this out. So there's a lot of different knife holds. A lot of knife holds I have no idea about, or I know very little about, but you know, there's the classic kind of you pull, push with your lead hand. But what I was doing here is because this is just getting too close to my chest here and I don't want to cut my shirt or myself, you You anchor your lead hand and you pull. So there's a lot of different ways to cut stuff. I think the most important thing is just being safe. Don't cut yourself. And you know, if it gets the job done, then who's anyone to say that you're doing it wrong? All right, so I'm looking at this here, and you can kind of see the angles are kind of wonky here. The apex, the vertex, I don't know, I don't remember geometry class, but I want the smallest point here where the angle meets to match here. So I have two options. I can either bring this down here or this up here. I think I'm going to bring this angle down here, which means continuing on this line, so let's go here, and then that reshape all this, something like that. So I have lots of material here, so it's okay to make this a little thinner. And typically with carving, the more anchor points you have with the knife, the more control you're gonna have. So rather than me just kind of pushing it, I control it with my thumb. So everything's kind of locked in, and you just kind of push, angle your knife, and then push. Gives you a lot of control and minimizes the risk of slipping and overcutting, which can damage your piece or your body. Another fun thing, so my palm here is awfully close to my knife, so you just got to be really careful of that. I have kind of cut my palm just because getting too close, and I'm looking at the wood, not necessarily above, so just always keep in mind where your body is and where your knife is going. Okay, so I've brought the angle up, but now this is kind of a little squirrely, so I'm gonna have to taper this back a little further just so you don't have that kind of steep angle here. And same thing up here. Sometimes you can anchor with this hand and control. I don't like it. Don't think I like it. Something, I think, let me keep playing around with it. So we got the back pretty good. Before we go any further, I want to start working on the top here. So the spatula face, is that what I called it? I can't fucking remember. It's going to be fairly flat. There's going to be a single facet, fairly consistent facet, which is just really a taper, around 45 degree all the way around. So I have to be very precise with that because I want it to look nice and consistent. But other than that, it's going to remain flat. And then the handle, you can see the bottom is quite rounded. I want to do a nice little gentle taper on the top. A little angle there, a little angle there. And then continue that facet from the face all around. So let me work on kind of rounding off that, but very subtly because I don't want it too sharp because I want that facet to really stand out. I'm just eyeing down the edge here. This is a sharp edge. I want that fairly straight. Both sides. So I'm getting a lot of shortcuts, which is not ideal, and I think it's just it doesn't look like I'm rushing, but I kind of am, and I'm just not focusing. I should really focus on anchoring that angle and pulling, looking where I want to cut. And probably more importantly than anything is you want to give it a hold. You want to make sure it's comfortable in your hand, which this actually is not. It's a little flat and pokey along these edges, but I'm thinking with that that chamfer with that facet, it will feel better. But it's just, you know, slow and steady. I'm just slowly kind of rounding this off. Time for the chamfer, facet, or whatever I'm calling it. I have drawn some guidelines all around the perimeter and the sides. This will really help me to kind of focus and watch where my knife is going, or where I want my knife to go, actually. So I've just sharpened this, or I've stropped it. Wish me luck. Now, ideally, I'd get this all in one pass, but I'm a little afraid of tear out. So I'm just gonna take it easy, maybe 2 or 3 passes, but maybe we'll kind of feel it out, see how it's cutting. You know, I have to switch directions. I have to go down this way. So that's gonna be a little challenging too, to get those 2 chamfers to meet up. The lighting is dog shit, man. I can't see my lines. Okay, I doubt the lighting's good enough for you to see that, but not bad. Not bad. Doesn't have to be super straight. Nothing on this spoon is super straight, so I think that all worked out. All right, so I got all the facets in. Just getting rid of all my, all the remaining lines. I'm not sure if, yeah, I'll try and get some better lighting so you can kind of see this, but this is more or less done. I'm gonna take off a few high spots, just a little minor carving here and there, and then we'll burnish it. Burnishing time, baby. So this is just a river rock. I've explained what this does in past videos, but I'll explain again. It just takes off the high spots and gives this a nice smooth, glossy finish. Almost like really fine sandpaper. And yeah, as I mentioned, it will take off a lot of the high carve marks, but it will still leave remnants of the carved marks, which is the style I'm going for. So if I sanded all this, it would get fairly smooth, and a lot of the character of the carved marks and the facets would kind of disappear, which I don't want for this particular spatula. But I do have to be careful. I don't want to get rid of or round off the chamfer too much, because I want that to be visible. All that hard precision work, I don't want it to go to waste. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna do that to the whole spoon, and then we'll get some finish on here. Oh my Lord, look at that shine, boys and girls. Oh, I gotta be careful. I'm gonna blind myself with that reflection. God dang. Okay, so time for the finish. I'm still a little worried about this spalting, this fungus. So what I did just now is I threw it in the microwave for probably about 2 minutes total. I did it in 30-second bursts, and I'm hoping that dried it out and killed this fungus completely. I don't know. It should be fine, I think, I hope. Oh shit, what is that? Get that out of there. I wasn't using sandpaper. No, I would never. But anyways, let's get some finish on this. This finish is a mixture of beeswax and mineral oil. So we're just gonna rub that all along and get it really in there. And then I'm gonna pop it in the microwave for, a couple more 30-second bursts. And that just really heats up the wood and opens up the pores and really soaks that finish right in deep. So we'll get that all coated and ready to go. And we'll show you the finished product. Okay, so that's it. The microwave actually darkened it a little bit, which I quite like on this specific spatula. So I'm gonna call that one done. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and get out there and start spooning, or I guess spatulaing.